Quick.
Here's another reason why you want to take control of what you're doing.
Everything kind of funnels into the only winning move is not to play the game.
I don't know, guys. This whole thing sounds pre-recorded.
Happy Father's Day to all you guys out there, and welcome to another episode of the Weather Report. We have a special weather report for you today because it's not all about politics, not about anything like entrepreneur. In fact, we're talking about EntrePodneur with the guy that invented the slogan. I mean, he actually got it into the Urban Dictionary. We're talking about the people from the Boomer Bunker podcast, Over Opinion and Underinformed, John Jamingo, Duchess of New Jersey, Kate. Welcome, guys, to the Weather Report. You guys have been on before, but not both of you at the same time and only during a special event. And I want to welcome you guys here because, man, I love it. I love you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. It's a lot of fun to do the show. And then we always get a chance to come in, if we can, in the morning and go in your weathered view spaces.
Oh yeah,
which is
enjoyable. You can follow me on X at also known as CWS if you want to get on that show, because we're always looking for more people to get on the show, and yeah, all that stuff. I got my partner over there, Ken. He's over there checking it out. Check him out. He's in his little tiki studio there. And if you guys want to do a hit of acid or something, you can go ahead and trip out on my background, because I ditched the virtual background only because of the fact that it was, I hated that little glow that I had around my head. It was, I didn't want to be Jesus or anything. So I had to take that down. So the only other thing that I had was this backdrop was the psychedelic thing. And if you guys
change is good. It's not a bad thing.
Tripping out. Yeah. I mean, I'm an old hippie. That's what it is.
It kind of fits.
So how you guys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, I think things are going well. I had a very good Father's Day, so that was nice. And then I was excited to be here. I was like sitting here waiting because I didn't want to miss it.
Well, I've been doing what I do every Father's Day and watch the U.S. Open out there.
Oh, yeah.
Up there near Jamingo. I mean, Pittsburgh's not too far away from him. Actually, Philadelphia is right there next to him. But Pittsburgh is what northwest of you guys, right? Something like that.
It's a good 6 hours.
Yeah, it's a good 6 hours
for
us.
me.
I mean, Pennsylvania's a freaking huge state or anything like that. But you guys,
ride.
all raining up there, and they're having a fit up there trying to get the 18 holes in. But they're doing good. I mean, I'm a big golfer, man, so it's been exciting for me to sit down and take a little break from my Saturday and Sunday to sit down, drink a little something, and watch the U.S. Open. We'll see what happens. There's still, I mean, it's got to be getting dark there, right? I mean, it's like 7:03 there, so pretty soon it's going to be getting dark. So we'll see if they get that round in. Been raining out there for you guys?
We had a lot this morning. Yeah,
it was chilly here today,
yes.
which I enjoy.
Nice.
I like chilly.
God damn, man, it's June. It's June 15th. Or June.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's going to be hot soon enough. It's going to be hot and sticky. So
yeah,
I'll enjoy the cool weather while it lasts.
You get that New Jersey, right?
It's humid. It's sticky. It's just, and I'm near the ocean. So I'm like 10 miles. So everything's humid and damp and just.
Yeah. Ken gets that Wisconsin.
We get the humidity. we get the
humidity that comes out of the ground and just
that's fun.
Engulfs you, and
you feel it. And in New Jersey's no different, and Massachusetts was the same way. Humid as all hell. What we don't have in the Midwest, like you say, there's the ocean air, and it goes in about 15 to 20 miles from the shore, and there's a dampness that you just sometime in June you go out there and you just get damp, and you like that till October. It just kind of sticks to you.
Yep. Ugh.
So, John, I know you live by the river, right?
Yes, I'm right across the river from the airport.
And then Duchess lives by the ocean. Is there a different climate? I mean, different kind of humidity that happens there, or is it kind of all blend in together?
It's different. It's definitely different. I know because I spent a lot of time. We call it the shore. Everybody else calls it the beach, but I've spent a lot of time down the shore. But what's nice about
call it the shore.
A lot of times you'll get an on-flow breeze from the ocean, so it's cooler. Yeah. It seems to be cooler there than it is here. But it's a little bit different, yeah.
Also, when you live by a van by the river, you don't have to move it as much because it doesn't have tides.
No.
That is true.
You're safe.
Yeah,
That's true.
just saying.
Oh, the
So,
view by
John,
the river by John's is very nice, I have to say.
so John, I've had you on before, and I've had Kate on before, and I want to get I mean, everybody's has the story, and we talked about how the Boomer Bunkers started with Boomer Bob and you, and you've had a couple of other different podcasts before, Brand X, which you have risen like a phoenix out of the dust of the
I don't know if I'd say that.
But actually, I mean, I enjoy that podcast. I enjoy guys getting together and just bullshitting and having a drink and eating and stuff like that. But man, some of those early podcasts are just like, they're gold, man, and I love it. So we're gonna get into how you got into podcasting. I know that you come from a communications background. So why don't you kind of refresh everybody who's seen you before as podcasting, refresh everybody about how you got into podcasting.
To be honest with you, I lost my job. I was laid off. I worked in the elevator business for 24 years, and we were downsized. So I came home, and I was like just sitting there and like, what am I going to do now? And I was feeling sorry for myself, and I'm sitting there looking at my phone, and I saw this thing on there, and it was purple, and I said, what is this? It's a podcast app on my iPhone. So I pressed it, and I go, what is this? And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, these are like radio shows. I mean, and I always wanted to do that. So then I said, well, I wonder how they do this. And then I just went into Google and I Googled, how do you podcast? And there was these videos that came up and a guy by the name of Cliff Ravenscraft, and he was the podcast answer man. So I just started listening to him and going to the University of YouTube. And I took a course from him, and he kind of showed me how to, do everything. And it just started from there.
Yeah. What year was that actually?
2012.
2012. So you were, about 4 years after really podcast started hitting when Adam Curry and all those guys started and stuff like that.
Well, it's funny. Adam Curry was on Sirius XM, and he had this podcast show, and I would listen to it. I'm like, what is this? What he did was he was only playing segments from different podcasts. I had no idea what it was, and he really didn't explain it. So one day we're listening to two brother and a sister talk about family stuff, and then another one they were talking about. I'm like, what is this? This is nowhere. I don't understand what this is. It's stupid. So that's when I finally got into it. I said, oh, we could do something here. Yeah, that's it. My journey to podcasting began on a trip down the stairs with holding a toolbox and fell down the steps and tore up my knee and my back. Kind of, sort of, yeah. But that's where it started. And I've done different podcasts and worked. There was one time where I worked for a company that they just would watch a TV show. Then you would get together with somebody else, and then you would go over the TV show and talk about what was going on with it. And I did that till they went out of business for like 2.5 years. The best job I ever had, because not only did I was working as a on-air talent, but I was also editing the podcast, because you would watch the shows, then you would edit it. So the next morning, let's say, I don't know if you were watching Dexter, the next morning when you were going to work, there was a 20-minute podcast about Dexter, because they said the average commute to work is 20 minutes. So you could listen to that show on your way over.
Right. I think what was interesting is that the actual term podcast, what we do is not really a podcast, right? I mean, really, because podcast came from the Apple industry, because when you started listening to podcasts, you were listening to it on an iPod. So hence the name podcast came into existence. So I don't know really what we call it now, man, but it was interesting to me that you came up with EntrePodneur, because you were talking about people that do their own thing, their own producing and stuff like that with the show, which you were doing for quite a while. And I think what got me into it was because I do it. I mean, this is what I do. When I get off this podcast, I do all the editing, if I do any editing at all, but I do all the posting, all that. So that struck me as something that was really cool. But to get back to your story, what I wanted to ask you is that I was always nervous about starting a podcast, because I have no problem speaking. I have no problem talking, but I didn't think I had that voice. You have a very radio voice. Duchess has a very radio voice. I think that was something that a lot of people, that when they get into podcasting or want to do podcasting, going like, oh my God, I don't have a radio voice. What did you think about? What do you think about that?
I did. Well, someone always they would say to me, you have a really nice voice. And then I was working out of Philadelphia, and I was working with people in California, and I would call California for something, and they say, "Oh yeah, I can tell by your accent." I went, "Accent? I don't have an accent. What are you talking about? I don't have an accent." And then I tried to get into voiceover work, and they just heard my Delco accent. They're like, "We're sorry. You can get rid of that stupid South Jersey accent. We might be able to
Thanks
do
for
something."
applying.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I hear you say Delco all the time. Explain Delco.
Yeah.
Delco is like a county in southeastern Pennsylvania. It's right outside of Philadelphia. So this accent that I have is, Philadelphia, Delaware County, South Jersey. That's the accent that I have.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I was trying to get rid of it, but I can't seem. So now, look, I'm 63. I'm just leaning into it. I don't care anymore. I'm to the point now where I don't care. And the podcast I do, because they always say in podcasting, you have to know your why. Why do you do this? Are you trying to make money at this? And then for the longest time, I guess I was trying to do that, but now I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
My why is it's just fun to do. It's fun.
It's my passion. It's my hobby, and there's no money in podcasting. Please help us. We'll take any kind of money you want to send our way. But
well, when I first started this, there was only 250,000 podcasts worldwide. That was it.
Yeah.
So when you started, there's a lot of podcasts now. The Joe Rogan Experience, he started 2 years after me. I think he started in 2000. Maybe not. Maybe he started in 2009. I can't remember. But what was going on was that a bunch of podcasts would get together and we would do kind of like a network. And I think that's where we're missing, because we're trying to grow our podcast, but we're olds now.
Yeah.
Kids don't want to listen to us. We got to find the olds. And a lot of the olds don't have to get it. They're not into podcasting.
Get off my lawn.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going like, who the hell wants to listen to a 65-year-old guy freaking podcast and freaking bitch about this and that and yell at the clouds? So
but what I was thinking is, and I would like to do this, I'm going to offer this to you guys tonight because I've been thinking about this, is I want to get like a 30-second spot of all the people, like your show, and I see that the Missing Antelope Radio is in here, his show in here.
Oh my gosh.
And then
we're going to talk about that the second hour.
And then also when we get, different people, the, WFOD, get 30 second, and then put those in our show so you can cross promote, because there's a lot of shows that you listen to that now I'm a fan of. And I want to get a chance to meet them. And I think if we could, because how many, we do a show where we do it twice a week. You guys do it once a week. You're looking for podcasts to listen to. At least I am.
Right.
And so if we can find our audience and then build that way, I think it's a better way of doing it than trying to. Have you ever once, we all promote on social media, have you ever once saw a podcast and said, "Oh, I'd like to listen to that"? But if someone says, "Hey, I was listening to a podcast and it's a really good podcast," I'll almost automatically go over and download it and listen to it.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. We're going to move over to Duchess here. Now, Duchess, before you met John Jamingo, you had to have had some type of situation that you were going on, that you've got this voice, you've got this knack for doing this. I remember having you on the podcast one-on-one that we were talking to you. We know that you had a vlog and everything else like that, but what actually were you doing before you and Jamingo got together?
Well, I met John through a podcaster, surprisingly. But prior to all that, I was a blogger. I didn't really do any like video blogs or audio blogs or anything like that. So I just kind of got caught up into that and had met quite a few people that way. And then just, again, kind of abandoned that as my kids grew and things changed. Once social media became so much more prevalent, I kind of abandoned blogging with more of the boring Facebook, which I'm kind of bummed about, because I thought, for what at the time, it was pretty fun. But then meeting John as a fan through another podcaster was interesting, because, when they played, John's Epic Meltdown, which I'm sure we can link to somewhere in the show notes later, if you haven't heard it.
It's epic.
I loved it. And it made me laugh, because I've had that rage. Everybody's had that rage out moment. John just was recorded doing it, and it was epic. And then when he was featured on the show a few times, then I kind of like, oh, this guy's kind of fun. So then I listened to him and Boomer Bob when they were doing the Boomer Bunker, and then became chatty through him that way. So that's kind of how it started. But I had never done. I had always wanted to do
like a brand. I plucked her out
like a diamond
and said,
in the
you
rough.
know something? I think I can work with her. I know her voice. She's got a great laugh. And I just said, what I'll do is, she came here one time for us to, were we recording Brand X? So was that what we were recording?
No, what happened was we occasionally we would send chats back and forth, and you had said that Bob couldn't make one and make one of the Boomer Bunkers, and I said purely as a joke, oh, well, how about I come out and record it with you? And you went, okay, and I went, what? So now
so you came here.
I drove to your house and went to the podcast basement.
The podcast dungeon.
The dungeon.
The stranger's house into his dungeon.
Total stranger.
That was a fun sell. Just put the lotion on. Just put the lotion on.
It was a fun sell to be like, hey, I'm going out for a few hours to some guy's house. I'll be in his basement. I'll be podcasting. And I was like, all right, like.
So then Paul went over to the box where the life insurance policies were, went in and said, oh, it's up to date. Okay, have fun. Have fun. Okay, so she came here and we did the Boomer Bunker here.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, this is going to work.
It was fun, yeah.
So I sent her home with a microphone and headphones, didn't I? Or no, just the microphone.
Just the mic, yeah.
That one. A microphone and stand. I said, here, take this home, plug it into your computer, and then we'll work from there.
Yeah.
Bob lost his marriage.
I mean, I'm not taking total responsibility, Bob, but it didn't take much to push her over the edge. But yeah, she thought Bob and I were having a thing. I'm flattered by it, but
so Duchess, did you know that you have like the perfect radio, like that DJ, that soft FM radio voice. You got the giggle,
like the night bird, yeah.
And when you're watching the Boomer Bunker, of course, my favorite thing is when you're doing the the eyes up. That's my favorite.
I roll thing. Way more than I thought I did.
Yeah, you roll. But did you know that you had this talent? Did you know that you had this infectious thing that you've got over all the men in the Discord?
Oh my goodness! Well, you're very charming to say that, but I really have a lot of fun. I mean, I'm a chatty person by nature.
No.
Yeah, I know. Hard to tell.
No, it's hard to.
But I enjoy chatting with people, and even through blogging and everything like that. Just it's easy for me to chat with folks and to meet people. And I enjoy this, and this has been a wild ride of meeting just awesome people like throughout the way.
And to be honest with you, she really, when we first started this, I said, okay, I'm just going to let her do her thing, and then kind of talk to her about what we could do different or what thing. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, she really took to it. Like sometimes, because guys, you know how it is when you have to talk to women about something they're not doing well.
First I roll. Hang on.
Yes, right. I'm married. I know.
And then I'm not good at subtlety, so I'm not.
No, I agree. You are not.
Yeah. So I'm like, you're not doing this. You need to do this. And we've had some trials and tribulations on air, live. And but to be honest with you, I'm thinking to myself, well, I just killed another co-host. I'll find another one. But no, she really has taken to it and direction, and she does really well now.
No, it works good because basically I look at John, you're being the shock jock of everything here, because what you do, the subjects that you guys talk about, and some of the things that you bring up to Duchess. I mean, you have this like little contest about whether you can get a reaction out of Duchess, and Duchess just takes it in stride. She really does. But I mean, you're the shock jock. She's the straight person. And I really want to know, did that start off from the very first show? What did the first show look like?
The first show, I just wanted her to talk.
Yeah.
I didn't want her to, I just wanted her to, I would throw things to her and ask her questions. It was more like an interview about things that we were doing, whatever stories we were talking about. I was like kind of what do you think? Or leading her with the questions to get her to talk, to draw things out of her. And that worked well
much.
It worked well for a while. And then we have to do things where we have to, like some of the things, the hardest thing is to wait till someone else stops talking before you talk. And we both do it. I'm not saying that.
It's
She
tough.
does it
Pish
more.
tosh. Shut up! I do not.
So it's hard.
You love it. Stop.
It's
No, I
fun.
don't.
It's my
Not
charm.
at all.
No, it's fun. It's fun to watch the contention sometimes because I
Mm-hmm.
see sometimes I go like, "Ooh, maybe this is a good time to just kind of moosey on out," But no, it really, when you come back to it, I mean, we're all adults here, and
Right.
we've had some contentious times, on every podcast and stuff like that. Somebody takes something wrong, or there's something out of context or something like that, and you really got, I guess, what you have to do with podcasts like we have, you have to have thick skin. And if you don't have thick skin, you can't be in the game. I'm telling you that, especially on our morning show. If you don't have thick skin on the morning show, you're just a done deal. Forget it. You're not going to make it. So
There's only two topics that I can't really go into with Duchess. One, I can't. The other one, I tiptoe.
we know that one. We know
dodge. I dodge around, and sometimes because again, it's not just me. I'm like a 15-year-old. I have the mentality of a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
So someone will send me something and say, "Oh, see what play this for Duchess." And I'm like, half me's like, "Yeah, I'd really like to do this," but then in this climate, you can't, because she could get in trouble. Look at what things happen with. Shane Gillis. I mean, he got fired from his Saturday Night Live gig before he even went on because he said something on a podcast.
Yeah, we can't get fired, so that's good. Ken, what do you?
I can't. She can.
I can.
Yeah,
So
there's
What do you think about these two, Ken?
about these two. Well,
Uh-oh.
so I tell people when I send them to your show, don't listen to one, listen to at least three, because you're going to listen. Depending on what show you're going to listen to, they're going to think one of you two is an asshole. So that, and I say that in the best way, because this is what I've listened to the show and I'm like, well, this Duchess lady's okay, but man, this other guy, I don't know. Then I watched another show. I'm like, boy, he's making a lot of sense, and she's just out in left field. And then I listen to the third show. I'm like, nope, they're both right. Okay, now I understand it. You guys have a really great chemistry that makes your show. I recommend it to everybody. It's not for kids, but that's good. I mean, we don't need shows for kids. There's plenty of that crap out there. And of the 530 million podcasts that everyone has, there's only a few that I rarely miss an episode. You guys are one. I'll throw some other ones out there. Of course, a friend of all of ours is Aaron from I Had Hit Podcast. He's absolutely hilarious. Bob Davis podcast. He's a friend of mine that lives in an ambulance and podcasts. Literally lives in an ambulance, drives around the country and does podcasts.
Oh, wow.
That's how he makes his living. And he's in his 60s. He's not a young
Good
kid.
for him.
And podcasting has replaced, and we still call this a podcast, and it's going to go out as a podcast, but really this is just a show. This is a broadcast show. We're live right now. It's no different than anything else. One of the people that really got this going too, I believe, is John Stossel. He just started putting out the little 5-minute things and stuff like that, and put them on his podcast. And they're brilliant. But with you guys, you bring. It's you guys and Aaron, and I hope us too. You're bringing what people are thinking. You've entered the conversation most people are having in their heads and are afraid to say it. And we need people like you guys to be out there saying the stuff that needs to be said in a funny way. I mean, are you going to cross lines? Well, yeah, you start by crossing the line. Hey, welcome to the Boomer Bunker. The line's crossed, basically, is what it was.
Enter at your own risk.
Yeah, and you guys, I echo what people have been saying. John, I think you have a wonderful voice. Me being from the East Coast, now if I drink enough Sam Adams, my Boston beer accent starts coming out, and there it is, right there. You can start talking about Florida oranges and driving cars. But I enjoy your accent. 'Cause it reminds me of home. And, Duchess, you have a wonderful voice for this, but it's not just that, there's a lot of people with good voices. You have a cadence that's really interesting. And it's something that a lot of people don't pay attention to when they're talking, and you have a natural radio cadence. You have a patient kind of voice. And John, you're like me and Bruce. We just start going, rah, just start throwing words out there because it's all in my head and it's processing through fast. Where Duchess has this calm way of speaking, even when you're animated, that it makes the show really, really, the dynamic between the two of you guys it's super, super good.
One of the things I really, when I'm doing the show, I'm only thinking of one person, and that's the fan, the person that's listening. That's all I really care about, because they're giving me their time. They're, it's precious. So they're listening to me, and I want to get. So I always start with our best stuff up front. Sometimes it's okay to have a little chit chat. I always say playful banter, but then let's get into the meat of it. I put the best stuff up front, and then we trail off, because the real fans will listen. They'll listen to you read the ingredients of a cornflakes box. They don't really care. But, if you want to hook somebody, you got to really get them in there and start to show off with something really. Because Duchess went to Niagara Falls, and then she's like, "Oh, I want to talk about Niagara Falls." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then we had
like,
that thing
really.
with Padilla where they tackled him and handcuffed him. I'm like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, you're in the
You've
back.
been pushed to the back. Yeah.
You've been pushed. You're on segment 6 now." So
Maybe. Yeah.
Let's talk about show prep, John, because you've been in this longer than I have. I mean, I started my podcast back in 2016 with another co-host, and went solo for a while. That didn't work very good, but there has to be, we came into this with no show prep. I told you guys, we just want to talk about, entrepreneuring. We want to talk about podcasts. We want to talk about other things. We go into a second hour. We'll freaking open it up there. But you guys actually have I don't want to say outline, but you have a planned show. And how does that work? I mean, how does that work for you?
Well, we have our own little Discord. So it's just me, Duchess, and Mike, our producer, which Mike just started a couple months ago. He's been a fantastic guy.
Absolutely fantastic.
So what we do is we go over and we dump stories in. And we just dump everything in, and then I kind of go through the stories and then match them up where we want to go. And then I look at a story, and I say this, and listen, Duchess, I mean no disrespect, because you do the same. You have to do the same thing to me. Mm-hmm. But let's say Duchess puts a story in there she wants to talk about, and I look at it, and I'm like, this is a turd. Okay, how do I make this? How do I make this entertaining? How do I? She wants to talk about it, so we'll talk about it. But how do I make this entertaining? How do we do this? And that's how I approach every topic: is how do I make this the most entertaining?
How do we sell it? Yeah.
Right. When Bob was on the show, everybody liked the fact that I would argue with Bob, because I can't stand silence. It drives me insane. And then I would say something to Bob. And I would say, "Okay, Bob," and I'd ask him, we'd go talk about something, like, "Okay, Bob," I'd look over, and he would just sit there and stare at me. And now I don't know if he doesn't hear me or if he's frozen. And now it's building, and inside of me, it's just like a volcano. And then, so it became very contentious with Bob, because I do want this to be like a radio show. I just don't want to have somebody stare at me And then we argued so much that at one point I was quitting. I was quitting the show, and Bob's like, "No, I'll quit." And then, but we've made up now, and I think now that he's divorced and in a loving relationship, it's not your job.
They have a beautiful relationship as ex-partners.
It's the classic meltdown.
Yes.
Well, at one point it was the three of us. So,
Right.
And then so I'm going to jump in. So John and Bob would start getting into it, and it's like, Bob would look at him, and then John would ramp up, and then Bob would bicker back. So now the two of them are yelling, and I'm like, "Hey,
Mommy, Daddy,
hey!"
Mommy,
And they're like,
Daddy.
"Shut up, let us yell." And I'm like, and I just would sit there until they were done yelling at each other. I'm like, "Can we move on?"
I had to tell her. I said, when we start, just
two big walruses,
just back off and let us have our way. Just don't, because she's like, "Hey, maybe we should do. Hey, why don't we get back to the board? Hey, let's do another story."
Hey, people are watching.
And I'm yelling, and we're yelling at each other.
Oh my god, yeah, awkward.
So
the two dads
Bob,
are fighting.
So Boomer Bob and Duchess are different than your other playmates on the Brand X podcast. And you also had what was that? The Bromingos also, didn't you?
No.
Oh, I thought that was
he would guest on that.
Oh, he was guest on that.
Yeah, I went on it. Yeah, they hate me now.
Well, they're no longer a podcast, so yeah.
But I mean, you have two other podcasting partners in Brand X that you like I said, you revived, and you're doing a weekly podcast or semi-weekly podcast on that. Fantastic show. I don't think that you find a problem with interacting with different people, but I saw the interaction is different between the two guys that you have on Brand X than Boomer Bob and Duchess, and Boomer Bob who sits in every once in a while still on the Boomer Bunker.
So when I first started podcasting, the podcast I wanted to do was the Brand X podcast. I wanted Deuce, and I wanted to sit around. We would go to a bar and we would just start throwing out topics, and then we would start playing and doing voices and stuff like that. And that was the show I wanted to do. So I would say to Deuce, "Hey, let's do some podcasting." He's like, "Meh." And it took me years to get him to do it. And then we started doing it where he was at his house and I was at my house. And then Joe wanted to come. His brother Joe wanted to come in. But Joe didn't have any internet, and Joe didn't want to do Joe. So I'm like, okay. So that's when I came in, cleaned the basement out, and made a basement studio so the three of them could come down. But I'm a control freak, and I like what I want. I like what I like when I like it. And I drove poor Deuce out of the show for 4 years. And then he came back, and we do it once a month, and it's a lot of fun. We day drink and eat lunch.
Yes.
I would do it every week. I would do it every week.
You have a triple old fashioned and a bunch of pizza, and by the time you're done, boy,
I had to back it down. He had me polluted sometimes in here, and we're still trying to do a show, and I'm
Those
like,
old fashions were murder. They were so strong.
yeah.
Oh my God.
So how long has the Boomer Bunker been around? What you guys have, like what is it, 322 episodes now?
327 out.
Just finished
327.
And then we had, I forget how many we had before the Boomer Bunker. It used to be called the Bullhorn Podcast with just Bob and I. And then the Bullhorn went down because Bob was having issues at home, and he was giving up podcasting. And then he came on, and I didn't know this because at the time I didn't listen to No Agenda. No, I don't know if you ever heard of the No Agenda show.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I listened to it all the
so
time.
I didn't listen to it. So Bob says, "I want to do a daily show," and I'm like, "This was on a Sunday." He says, "I want to do a daily show. You want to start Monday?" And I'm like, "That's a horrible idea. When do we start?" So Sunday we put the whole thing together, and we just started doing a daily show. And I didn't realize that we were following the No Agenda. So when I started listening to No Agenda, I'm like, oh, that's what we're trying to do. So then I called ourselves, we were kind of, I referred to ourselves as Slow Agenda. And we were doing that point where he would bring stories and I would bring stories. And then once I found out, once I listened to, Adam and John do the show, No Agenda, then I kind of knew how we were supposed to kind of do the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get into podcasting as a I don't want to say business because it's not a business. It's a hobby. I'd love to make it a business. I'd love to be able to, say that I'm making money doing this and everything. But I mean, well, you had Duchess here who's never done a podcast before. You sent her home with a microphone, and that's all you did. So a lot of people get kind of weirded out. It's like, oh, I can't do a podcast. And I've said many times on myself, I mean, you could do a free podcast, absolutely free, that you don't have to do any distribution or anything. And all you got to do is use this little phone and go to X or Twitter at the time, and you can do a podcast in the morning like we do. So what do you do when people ask you, how do I get started? Because you're a podcasting guy that wants to teach people how to podcast. We've had this conversation, but how do you get people to say, okay, I can try that?
What I'll do first is I'll say, okay, what do you want to do? What kind of show do you want to do? And then I basically interview them on how they want to do it. And then from what they tell me, then I'll give them a equipment list. Also, what's the budget? Because podcasters, we want everything for free. And we want to charge, and we want to make a living doing it. So, and I've been through the whole Entrepreneur on Fire thing where everybody thought they were going to quit their jobs and do podcasting because
it'll be Joe Rogan.
John Lee Dumas. I don't know if you heard of John Lee Dumas. He decided one time that he was a salesman up in Maine and he was driving all around. He couldn't get enough podcasts to listen to. So he's going to start a podcast called, something on fire. It was on fire, whatever it was. And he started doing one every day. And people were like, you can't do this. This is unsustainable. And he did it for years. He was making all kinds of money. So then he decided he was going to teach everybody. So he had this thing called Podcasting Paradise, where you would come in and you would pay him $1,000 and he would teach you what he did. So I said, yeah, well, Podcasting Paradise, that's where you give him $1,000 and he lives in paradise. So we had all these people coming in the podcast and they were all and every show was on fire. There was Entrepreneur on fire. There was Libertarians on fire. There was Nuns on fire. I said, my God, the next podcast that says it's on fire. I actually want to see them take a podcaster and set them on fire. And it went through that whole, it was like a couple of years, and then everybody realized they couldn't make any money with it. They were spending all kinds of money and advertising and all trying to get their show noticed, and just didn't work.
Yeah, well, back in 2012, it was a lot harder to podcast then than it is now. I mean, we started all out with audio. I started out with some obscure audio only type thing like that, and we had to do all our own distribution and all that other stuff. I mean, there was a certain amount of people that would do distribution for you, but for the most part, you were in charge of doing everything. And now with software and other companies that are competing for your business, like we use StreamYard here, I've seen you use Ecamm before and other stuff that is out there. It's practically so easy to do a podcast now. It's incredible. I mean, I'm sure when you gave Duchess a microphone there, I was assuming that she already had a camera. So
John sent me home with a camera.
He
sent me a camera. He didn't like the camera I had.
So I mean, so past the camera and the mic, I mean, really, it's just getting the balls up enough to get up there and show your face.
Get up and do it. Yeah.
Start talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so if I'm trying to start somebody out that wants to be in podcasting, you give me any topic, I'll talk about anything, as you can tell. So what I wanted to do was just have her there until, and just bring her along slowly by giving her topics until she could build up, because she was terrified. When the first couple shows we did, she was terrified. Yeah. And you could tell. And then, we would talk, and I said, "You're doing a great job. Just keep doing what you're doing." And I just wanted to bring her on slow. At first I didn't say, "Oh, you're doing this, this. You need to do this, and this."
I did ask you though. I did. I didn't. John was honest with feedback. Well, for the most part,
I didn't say anything at first because I don't want to scare you. And then as we went on, and I felt like she could handle some constructive criticism,
delicate sensibilities.
Yeah, we went to we did that. Mm-hmm. So.
Duchess, do you have to be a delicate flower? Like you just said, delicate. Do you have to be a delicate flower?
No, you shouldn't be, actually. I don't think I am. I mean, I've definitely...
You're a Jersey girl. Come on.
Well, of course, but this has toughened up my skin in a different way. But I have to say, John, there's always a battle, it seems, with the Jamingo, with somebody over something. But it's nevertheless, it's been really interesting to meet different podcasters just through the different channels. Like we started this, and then I started hanging out, I suppose, is in Discord, and then met other people involved in other podcasts, and it branches out. I mean, he found Aaron, then I tracked Aaron down to the Discord where I found you, and then I found Kent. So it's like it just builds up. So it's been great to be a part of that. But yeah, John's, I think we have really good communication. Like, even we had an episode, I don't know what, 6, 8, 9 weeks back, where it was contentious.
No,
it ended abruptly.
It did.
But we had conversation about it. I reached out. I said, I'm not wanting to discuss it right now because I needed to work it through. I said, and then we talked the next morning, and we worked it out, and it was fine. So I mean, I didn't have histrionics and not talk to him for 4 days. And I was like, I can't talk right now. I want to, but we processed it. I processed it my way. Whatever he did. I'm sure he was thinking oh shit,
No, I'll be honest with you. So what happened was that Duchess got upset about the topic that we were talking about, and she shut down, and she wasn't talking.
No, I had see, here we go. You remember it your way. I had asked you several times before the show started.
Did we ever do that?
Hold on.
And then through the show, I'd said I really would not like to discuss it, and you're like, okay. And you bulldozed right
just
through.
Went into it, right?
Well,
but
and you got what you got.
At that point, you shut down. You weren't talking.
Well,
and she was just going through the motions. And then I said, okay, well, we're not doing this. Nobody wants to watch this. No. So
John,
we're ending it.
Rage quit and decided he was going to end the show because he'd had enough of dealing with it.
Somebody needed a lesson.
So these are things that
you dummy.
Yeah. These are things that we have to not worry about when we're in a podcast. But I mean, I've had, like I said, I had a co-host before, and it went good. I mean, we were the Hannity of Combs of podcasting at that time, and it worked really good. I mean, it really did. So
Bruce, I'll cut in there because I used to listen to that show, and it was good. It was a good show until the Combs guy got mean. it went from a discussion to just being mean.
Yeah,
It went from a discussion away from that. Like, I can relate because
we
like
had to break away.
Bruce and
the
I
sanity
usually have
of
to
our
have a
friendship.
conversation after each show because I've been telling him he's still not freaking doing it. I'm like, look, you sound just like Dr. Phil. If you don't come out in a Dr. Phil suit with a new hairdo, I mean, you sound just like Dr. Phil. Go watch some Dr. Phil and then listen to Bruce's voice. I'm telling you, you're missing an opportunity here.
Well, it's also
Maybe I should do the Dr. Phil show.
It's also tough because as we get older, things don't come to our mind like they used to when we were like, I listened just to Brand X, and that's 9 years ago. And I was a lot quicker than I am now. There's times when I forget things and I just make up a word and it's part of the show now. It's like,
I think as we get older, we get quicker at different shit. I don't think we get any less quick or witty. I just think that we're thinking about something that all of a sudden it's 40 years ago. And you're like, wait, that was the 80s? It was 40 years ago?
40 years ago. That doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't remember the guy that they brought back from El Salvador. And I just said his name was Killer Manjaro Garcia.
Yeah,
and
that's right. And then he came back here and invented this awesome weight loss drug.
Yes, exactly.
Now he's rich. Great.
Bob's right. I would be worse if I stopped podcasting. He would. It's right. Yeah. It's one of the things that keeps me going. I'm terrible at reading.
Yes.
When we're doing it. I'm horrible at it. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret that every night I have a book that I read out loud like a retard, where I just sit here and I just read out loud to try to get better at reading. And I don't know what it is, but I'll see a word and it doesn't, for some reason, when I see it, it doesn't come out of my mouth the way I want it to.
It's called dyslexia, and I have it. And I have it horribly.
The last Brand X that you had, the repeat of Brand X, it sounded like you were reading just fine. I mean, you were reading right off the script. It sounded like you were good.
There's a couple words that that you got caught up on.
That show was heavily edited when I did Brand X.
You got to listen to the very end.
The reason that I'm such a good editor, because I was a horrific speaker. And there would be times where, I sounded like Cronkite when I was on Brand X at the beginning because everything was edited. I don't edit anything in the Boomer Bunker. It is what it is.
Yeah. You bring that up. This is true. When people get started, there's a few things that happen. Most podcasts don't do more than 10 episodes. The vast majority will get 6 episodes in and be like, I'm not doing this anymore. And the other thing is that as soon as you do one and then you go back and listen to it, you see how absolute horseshit you are at doing this. And it comes from doing more and more. Where I work, we started our YouTube channel, and I started doing like new product launches and like installation videos. This is how you put these parts on to your machine or whatever. And you watch the ones now that I did 6-7 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe anyone even watched these. But you go back and you're like, this has had 57,000 views.
That's amazing.
And a shit ton of comments, and it sold product, and it did it all, even though it was terrible. Now the ones we do now, we're 10xing that because we're a lot better at it. Now we've got an actual, you set it up, you get started, and we had an old digital camera it was a digital camera, but it wasn't really, it was DSLR, nice Canon. But it wasn't set up for video because they weren't set up for video back then. So you can only shoot for 11 minutes and it would shut itself off. And we had a shotgun mic, that I stood like 25 feet away from in a big
echoey garage.
Oh, it was awful. It was awful. And then, so finally I said, okay, well, that's when I got these Rode mics because I was using a Tascam DR40 with the 2 mics on the top. On a stand that I just move out of the camera's way, and I had 2 or 3 different cameras. That was just like one DSLR, like a Instamatic, or just a regular digital camera. So I had different angles and stuff. And then, like you said, you got to edit it all together. Yeah. And I had never done that before. So, I opened up Premiere Pro because we had that, I've been working in Illustrator for years.
Oh, there you go.
I'm like, how much different could it be? I'll just learn it. But you find yourself, and John, I'm sure you're exactly the same way. You find yourself just going, there's got to be a way to do that. And there always is a way to do that. It's just a matter of, okay, now I have to learn a whole new system here. Yeah. And I got to learn this whole new system and that whole new system. and then something changes. The mics are different.
A roadcaster.
A roadcaster.
Yeah, the road. I come from the music world. I didn't even know a USB mic was a thing.
It wasn't
until like 2020.
Yeah, something like that. I worked with a guy who he had a podcast about podcasting. It's called The Audacity of the Podcast, and he would do product reviews. So what he would do is he'd start the video camera, and then he would have a digital recorder in his back pocket, with a lavalier mic through his shirt.
Yep.
And then so when he would do it, he'd clap like this, and then he would send me the video and the audio. So I'd rip the old audio out of the video, and then put the new video in, and sync everything up with the claps, so it would sound like, broadcast.
Wow.
The stuff that we used to do back in the day, we would use Skype, and then we would
Oh,
only have
right. It was terrible.
and then we would only have one channel coming in, which is stereo. So
Yep.
you would pan your microphone all the way to the left, and the guest all the way to the right. So when it came in, it was on two different tracks in stereo. Then you'd break them out, and then process them and do that. So I mean,
Good Lord.
I guess it's the way, like when you started, like if you got a car in the 30s, you knew how to do everything. And as cars progressed, you learned how things progress. It's kind of the same thing now. I learn every day. I'm always watching different videos on how people are doing things.
So it does grow. Like right now we're looking at rigs that we can put on vehicles to chase, because we do stuff for motorcycles. So we want to shoot the motorcycles, and we've done it in the past with literally hanging out the side of a Suburban or a minivan, or we had a rope that we tied our photographer to the back of the pickup truck, to the shop truck, driving down the highway at 75 miles an hour with 20 motorcycles. But that was fun. But now we have the rig and the gimbal that we're setting up that suction cups onto the car, but suddenly you're looking at a $5,000 investment for a thing that holds a $5,000 camera, and it gets outside of, but we were doing it with GoPros for so long, and we were buying the GoPros reconditioned on Amazon. You can buy a reconditioned GoPro on Amazon for like 160, 175 bucks. And it worked for a long, long time. I mean, 6-7 years, that's the way we did it. But now that we've grown, we can get some of the more cinematic stuff. And now what we're creating is just unbelievable.
It's amazing.
But the stuff that we did before was still good. But it's just, as you just keep progressing, it just keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, right now we have soundboards, and we have all different things. There's with the Rodecaster Pro, there's voice changers, and there's so much you can do now that you could never do back then.
Right.
I don't know if it's. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of video. I don't like being on video, but you have to. You have to do this.
You look marvelous. Marvelous.
I like video. I like watching the reaction, like the engagement. To me, it's much more of a personal. It's an easier conversation if you can see somebody that you can tell just visually how your responses are going to be.
So
we see Duchess go, oh!
Right.
Yeah.
But there are shows. There are shows that are YouTube only shows that I don't want to watch. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I go get the link, I get the video, I download the video, I rip the audio out of the video, I process it, and then I upload it to my podcast player. Mm-hmm. And that's how I listen to it. Because there's some shows that are only on YouTube, and I don't want to watch it, and I don't want to listen to it through whatever, through YouTube. So I just put it there. Oh, also, when you do that, it takes out all those dynamic ad commercials.
Oh, those suck.
John, so you have a basement that you totally cleared out and made a podcast studio out of. How many podcast actual studios are down in your podcast studio?
It's just, I guess it's like a 1.5 now. I had made 2 full studios, and that was nowhere. And so then what I did was I said, well, why am I doing this? All I have to do is put microphones over here and then turn everything to the side when I do something inside here. Yeah. I haven't really set up new cameras. Deuce doesn't want to be on camera when we do Brand X. He does not want to be on camera, which is fine. I like that. So that's totally audio. But when Duchess comes here, I have to set up another camera. We'll have to have 2 cameras here when she comes in. Mm-hmm. So if she comes down here. Honest to God, the best way to do a podcast to get the best audio quality and everything else is having somebody in the studio with you where you can control everything. Absolutely. I can't control things when you're going through I like everything on its own track. You can't do that when we're doing this.
Right. I would love to do that too. I mean, I've just been trying to go like, who wants a job that pays nothing and come in here and produce my podcast?
Want some experience.
Yeah, nobody's biting yet. But you got Mike, and Mike has been a really cool addition to the podcast. How's that going?
He's fabulous. I love Mike.
It's going well, but again, here we are. We're back to like dinosaur stuff because we're using StreamYard, and Mike has so many drops, but we can only put 100 drops in there.
Only 100.
We need more.
Is that it?
So there's things where, and Mike's really good at this. Like he'll say, we'll start talking about something, and he'll say, "Oh, I need this from YouTube." He'll go to YouTube, grab it, rip the audio out of it, and then play it.
He's extremely
then
fast.
upload it to StreamYard. Meanwhile, when he's going to upload, he's got to take some other ones out and all. And I want to get a soundboard because I have things here where, I'll just go to Duchess because she hates this. We have Duchess laughs.
I love it. And you could put that in anyone you want.
So I want him to be able to, and Bob puts you put Farrago, but Farrago's only for Mac. It's not for PC, which we has PC. So I have to sit down with Mike and say, okay, let's do this. But he's busy too, So when we get a chance, same thing. He's doing this the way he's doing it. It's great, but we can make it easier for him. And I definitely want to make it easier for him. Like I put the show notes up, and we surprise Duchess a lot. Like we see things.
That's great.
And we drop things on
Most
Duchess.
of them are not in the notes.
We can't tell. We can't tell.
So mean.
It's the reaction. It's the best. It's the reaction. He sent me about 10 Duchess laughs that he got from just the last episode through Discord that I can put on my soundboard now. Some of them are hysterical. She's the best laugher in the business.
Yeah. Duchess, what do you think? What do you think about all of this? Is this podcasting endure that you've had over the past couple of years now? What do you think about all this? You got any aspirations on going out on your own or doing another podcast or anything like that? Because I know that you're like a staple on the morning show for us.
I have so much fun. Thank you. I feel like I get in there and just yik yak. So I'm sorry.
Exactly. And John comes in too, so I mean that's a plus. But what do you think about all this? What did you think it was going to be like this?
No, I really didn't. I just thought, it'd be fun. Like, because again, I'd always wanted to do like voiceover work or get involved with radio. Never did anything to get to that. And I was just like, that'd be fun, because I used to do a lot of phone work and things like that. And people always said, you have a great voice. And I'm like,
phone work.
Thanks, No, I worked for a computer company selling parts. Ken would probably know it's like Mac Warehouse, PC Warehouse, Micro Warehouse. So no, that's all I would sell. And nobody would believe I was from New Jersey because I actually would try to speak not Jersey. But yeah, I always enjoyed this. And then when John kind of, made it more where I could be on more episodes and then eventually as a co-host, it's a lot of fun. And like, I'm the first person to say, like, John does 90% of the work. Mike does a ton of it too. I just drop stories. I do socials and then I show up. May do a majority of the work. So John makes it very easy for me, which I appreciate. But I always thank him for that. So it's been fun. I've guested on other shows and I've met some very interesting people that way as well. So,
I put a lot of work into making my show that mediocre. Here's the one that I love the best.
I'm trying, but I can only do so much.
This is going to be my ringtone when Duchess texts me.
God damn it. I hate you. I swear to God. That sounds terrible. That's an awful laugh.
That's what happens when you become a professional cutter.
Eight. We have 8 laughs, 8 Duchess laughs.
God.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed.
You've taken up way too much space.
Interacting with Duchess also because it was her birthday this last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday again,
Thank
Duchess!
You.
And I just wanted to let you know.
I had no idea that was you.
I knew it was Bruce.
I didn't know that.
Immediately. I didn't want to blow his cover, but I totally knew because I've heard him do it before. It's fantastic. Yeah. I can't believe you didn't know it was him.
That's one of the things that I guess if I wanted, I would like to get more interaction with people where they call in or send in. We do get I shouldn't say that because we do get a lot of topics from other people that send in. So I do get that, but I want more. So
Yeah, and how do you interact with your show? So I mean, that's something that a lot of people do not do. So I mean, you have a phone line that you can actually call in and leave voicemails, and it was actually the first voicemail that I ever did, and I think I did Hulk for you guys one other time, and I'm surprised that you didn't catch on Jamingo, but that's what it was. But I had to do that for Duchess because I can't do I can't do Mike Rowe, so
Wow.
I can't do that. So.
that's why I have the 11 labs where I have Mike Rowe's voice in there, and I just make him say whatever I want.
I appreciate the sound of his voice. It's a very nice voice. Can I say? I have good taste. What can I say?
How long have you been doing the how long have you been doing the voice calls?
It's very easy. You just go to Google and you get a Google voice number, and it's just and you give that out, and then people call, they call, and if they don't, they don't. You can text or call, and we'll read the text and we'll do that. And I mean, we've got segments. We do the Duchess, the Trump tweets that Duchess reads, and then sometimes Duchess reacts. It's always Duchess this and Duchess that.
It had to be really tough on Monday because I know that Duchess wasn't feeling well and her voice was
I was terrible. I'm still feel like I'm a little raspy, but yeah, it's not.
Thursday was the horrible. Thursday was when they had that attack on Google and we lost the internet.
John was losing his mind. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then StreamYard was down. You couldn't even get into it. So then I found one of the other ones that I play with that was still working. So I shifted everything over to that show, put everything on that show, on that platform, got everything set up, and then StreamYard came back. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't had that. I haven't had that problem with StreamYard too much. I mean, some of the platforms that I've been on before, I've had problems with, but I've never had any problems with, but I don't have the Roadcaster either. So I wouldn't know.
That was worldwide. Like, in other words.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did not know that.
Thursday,
and like tonight, Bruce, like a night like tonight, it's not a problem because all of our listeners are on the show.
Yeah. There we go.
Literally on the show.
We have 10
really loading down the
listeners.
show.
We're doing double digits tonight.
I love it. We got a full house there, man. So
although, more people, more problems. In other words, you find somebody that listens to your show and they get a hair up their ass, and the next thing you know, they're trying to ruin your life. Well, and I never understood that. I'm
still waiting for my first piece of hate mail. So I mean,
I don't mind hate mail. I mean, I get that, but I mean, that's when they try. I remember one time when we were doing the Brand X podcast. In the very beginning, I would use it to advertise my audio editing business, and I had a guy listen to the show, and he called up. He says, "I can't believe you sponsor that Brand X podcast." And I go, "Why? What's wrong with it?" And he goes, "You know what they talk about?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, I won't use your product anymore because you advertise with them." I said, "Do you have a podcast?" And he goes, "No." And I go, "Well, then go fuck yourself. What's that? I mean, you're not going to use my product anyhow. Who cares? Don't listen to it. There's thousands of podcasts to listen. Go listen to something else, dipshit."
Oh, that's true.
Exactly.
That was great.
They want to come try and ruin my life. I always say, bring it. I'm like, the can of worms, the whoop ass that's going to come flying out of my mouth. That'll destroy any of you people that want to come. Just bring it on.
Yeah, I'm not hard.
I don't even care. When I was a political activist, we had to censure a senator. Long story short, and it was over something that the let's just say the left-leaning crew of people wanted to make a big deal and try to cancel us all. So, I mean, I had National Public Radio calling me on my cell phone. I'm like, how the hell did they get my cell phone number? This is back in like 2011, 2012. Right. And, Wall Street Journal and all these people just calling and they're just barking down your, trying to get sound bites out of you. And I just spoke to them in a way that was very reminiscent of maybe Aaron from from his podcast, because if there's a certain way you can talk to people, they can't cut it and edit it anyway, because there's always a word that they can't say, and you can only bleep so much, and then they can't get anything out of it. Yep. It's a lot of fun. Just bring it on.
It's always good.
Well, I hope you guys can come back, and do the second show with us, because we're getting close to our hour here. So I want to break it down, but I want you to go ahead and actually, I've already put your website down at the bottom there. But why don't you guys give yourself a plug before we leave this first hour?
Go,
Who wants
Duchess.
to do it?
All
Let it rip.
I'll do it. We invite you to follow us and join us live when we live stream the recording of our podcast on Monday and usually Thursday nights. Sometimes it's Wednesdays. Definitely follow us on social media so you'll be up to date on all of the episodes. And we live stream on those evenings at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. And again, follow us, and we hope you have a good time.
But Duchess, where would you get all those
Boomerbunker.com.
links?
Boomerbunker.com.
There you go.
Thank you for telling me, because
Well, it's been a real pleasure having you guys here, and it excites me when I can have a couple of people that I really admire and I really enjoy listening to. You guys have a fantastic podcast. I love you both, man, and I'm sure Ken feels the same way. And I'll let Ken go ahead and plug himself real quick before he goes too.
Oh, before I go and talk to, look at that. It's almost like I thought about it before. So when you don't get a chance to listen to Duchess's soothing dulcet tones and you're in a room full of anxiety from the actual truths that John is throwing at you, you might need a moment to relax. And you can do that to Mad Case Studio, where I have artwork, and it's designed to help you decorate your walls and soothe anxiety with adult coloring books. And go to madkstudio.com, MADDK studio.com for all of your artwork needs. There, she's got one there. Absolutely.
There you go. There you go. Very, very, very nice.
Oh my God, stop.
Well, you can help us out if you want to go to buymeacoffee.com/weathersoul, and you can give us some money so we can keep doing this. And I don't have to put commercials in the middle of our podcast and stuff like that. Or you can be a Patreon like the Duchess is. She's a Patreon subscriber to patreon.com/weathersoul. And I really need to do what I promised to do on the Patreon. On the Patreon site. I'll get to it because I'm a busy guy.
I'm
a family guy. I've got a truck to build. I've got
things to do, places to
things
go.
to do. I mean, you know
People
what I'm
to
going to say.
see.
Ask Dr. Phil about it. But we want to thank you guys for being here. We're going to be there on the other side for another hour. You can get that on patreon.com if you go out and you buy it, and then you can get it as soon as it posts. But want to make sure that you guys, like I said, thank you guys again for being here. And Ken, thank you again for being my right on freaking co-host. And
friggin' guy. That's what I am. I'm your friggin' guy.
We'll see you guys again next week for another installment of the Weather Report. You guys be good. Be good to yourselves. Bye.